episode 51 of the Unscripted Company podcast. Riley, you were saying this right before we hit record, so you have my intrigue, you have my interest. You said you had an update on something. Not to immediately put you on the spot, as we were talking right before, but you said you had an update. What is this update? I'm intrigued.
Well, before we get into that update, I got a question for you.
Yeah, what do you got?
I wonder, when you think about parachute companies, do you think that they worry about ever getting a bad review if their product fails?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those products that people are really dying to get into, but I don't know, man. That's actually kind of a terrifying thought, is not the parachute companies themselves, I suppose, but those that are entrusted to pack the chute accordingly.
Right.
And I know they're trained, they're knowledgeable.
Mm-hmm.
At least I hope, cross my fingers.
Right.
But that's the one thing that keeps me from actually skydiving. Outside of, the fear of heights.
Right.
Is if the chute will actually open, which I know there's a couple of variables that go into that, but one of which is, was that parachute packed correctly? And the one time it's not, I don't want to be the one to experience that. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, that's the kicker, though. I mean, can they? Because here's the thing: you can test all the parachutes that you want and test your product, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the one that you put on is going to be. Yeah, it can't be tested prior to your use. Like if you use it, then they're gonna have to repack it and then do the same thing again. So it's like it's one of those things. But I mean, for me, I'll be honest, I've always wanted to go skydiving. It's kind of like on my bucket list. Whether it happens now or whether it happens when I'm 75, and if that's the end, then that's the end. I'm already that old anyway, so it doesn't really matter at that point. But it's just an interesting question. I wonder if parachute companies ever really think about that. If they're like, well, can't really get a bad review here unless the family of the deceased happens to leave a bad review. But I don't know when the last time was that someone had a parachute malfunction and that happened. So
that's a good question. Like, statistically speaking, how often does that happen? Because it for sure happens. You see it in the news, or I guess maybe social media more often, that, from time to time, parachutes don't open. Sometimes it's because of negligence. Sometimes it's the person is, because isn't there a rule? If I remember correctly, there's like a rule to where if you haven't jumped so many times or put in so many hours, you have to have like an instructor or someone strapped to you, which makes total sense. You don't want someone blindly jumping out of a plane,
right,
overconfident that they know how to safely get to the ground.
Right.
Where was I going with this? But I imagine there are times when some people, rules are meant to be broken.
Right.
That they go up there and overconfidently jump out of a plane and hope for the best. I always think about, did you ever watch King of the Hill?
Yes.
Okay. There's that infamous, I think it's a 2-part episode where Peggy and Hank both say, I think it was for, and correct me if you know otherwise, I think it was for like their 25th marriage anniversary or something, and they say, hey, we're gonna go skydiving, and last minute Hank chickens out and he gets scared. He goes, no. Peggy's overconfident, says, I'm gonna go do it. And the whole joke of the episode is she jumps out and the parachute just doesn't open, so she belly flops into like a cornfield somewhere, and Hank watches the whole thing happen. Thankfully, even though it's a cartoon, she survives. Just, it's a full body cast situation, and of course Hank feels beyond guilty, and I forget what happens from there, but there's like real life scenarios and stories of that happening.
Well, thankfully I have a couple of statistics here. So on average, which this kind of makes me uncomfortable because that's some pretty low statistics on this. Only 1 in about every 1,000 skydive experiences a malfunction that requires the use of a reserve parachute.
Okay, so there's a reserve chute, because I always remember there's a thing where they say you pull the lollipop,
and if that one doesn't work, then you pull your reserve cord.
Yeah,
and then the second one comes out.
Now, but it's when that second one doesn't come out,
right? And then they kind of had like a couple of things like, how safe is skydiving? Apparently, it's safer than it's ever been.
Is it safer than flying?
I'm
not expecting you to know the answer to that, but I'm thinking out loud, like, they say flying is safer than driving because statistically speaking, but is parachuting or skydiving safer than flying.
Well, it doesn't say that, but it does say the odds of dying in a skydive are much lower than the odds of being stung by or struck by lightning or stung by a bee.
The stung by a bee is interesting because I feel like that is more likely than getting struck by lightning. However, I guess it depends on if you're allergic to the bee sting in order for you to
Right.
die by a bee sting.
And also, too, fatalities only occur in less than 1 per 100,000 cases.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
I'm telling you, there's a chance. Oh
But
man.
also, they're saying that the odds of you dying are at whatever, that 1 in 1,000 or one in
Right.
over 1,000. But is that because also not everyone who crash lands back onto the surface of the earth dies? A
I'll
lot
be
of
honest
people
with you.
survive it. You see the stories or you read the
I'd rather
stories.
die. I would rather just die. Like I'm not because you have to think, dude. What if you fall and like you hit land or even water? Water can still, you
Water's
know,
like hitting water at that speed is like hitting concrete,
yeah.
basically.
And I don't want to feel that pain, like, because you would feel that pain. Like, I don't care how many people say, like, oh, your body's in shock. You would, no, that's BS. Like, you would feel every single bit of that pain that you're experiencing.
I'm
And
gonna
also,
ask.
too,
I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. Continue talking real quick.
yeah. And it also, too, depends on, like, where you're skydiving at, how quick people are to respond to get to you in case something happens. Like, I don't want to be laying there for like 10 to 15 minutes while I'm waiting for an ambulance to come get me to take me to a hospital. I'm like, bro, just let me bleed out. Let me die. Like, I'd be done at that point because, like, I can't do that.
Let's see here. This is according to ChatGPT, so take it with a grain of salt. There could be some hallucinations or inaccuracies here. It says skydiving is often perceived as risky, but statistically, it is much safer than many people think. Here's a comparison to provide context. So, skydiving statistics, you may have said some of this already, but it says, according to the United States Parachute Association, that's a thing, the USPA,
Mm-hmm.
in 2021, there were about 2.8 million skydives in the United States, with only 10 fatalities. This is a fatality rate of approximately 1 in 282,000 jumps. So it's 0.00036%. So extremely small
Yeah.
percentage. The risk of injury is also low. For tandem skydives, the ones where you jump with an instructor, the fatality rate is even lower, and injuries are very rare due to strict safety protocols. Now, here's some comparisons to other things we're familiar with, such as skydiving versus driving a car. The fatality rate for driving in the United States is around 1.53 deaths per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. This translates to a lifetime risk much higher than skydiving. That makes sense. That's not a surprise to me. It says the average risk of dying in a car crash is about 1 in 101 over a lifetime. Scuba diving, the fatality rate is about 1 in 34,000 dives, making scuba diving slightly riskier than skydiving.
Hmm.
Motorcycling, surprise to no one, motorcyclists face a fatality rate of about 1 in 1,000 riders per year, significantly riskier than skydiving. No surprise. Running a marathon. Sudden cardiac arrest in
Oh,
marathons
wow.
occurs at a rate of 1 in 100,000 participants, which is safer than skydiving, but still worth noting.
Right. That's
Why,
interesting.
why skydiving is safer than expected? Advanced equipment, modern parachutes, and automatic activation devices, otherwise known as AADs, significantly reduce risk. The rigorous training, there's licensure, things like that, extensive training, and strict regulations. I honestly was not aware that there was a like association or like governing body of
Mm-hmm.
parachuting in the United States, the United States Parachute Association. So there's regulations. Was not aware of that, honestly.
Very nice. So to now to after I had you on that cliff of like what my update was. Now that we got the parachute talk out of the way, let's go back to our old friend Fartcoin. Fartcoin is up to $2.15 right now a share. It went up from 79 cents in the last week to $2.15. So I think
Is
I'm gonna
it
have to.
really?
I think I'm gonna have to give me some Fartcoin, man. Like,
Okay, so I don't know this. I'm just riffing off the top of my head. You can fact check me if you have the screen up. If I remember correctly, I think Fartcoin is on the Solana blockchain.
it
So I
is.
imagine, I think the reason Fartcoin might have gone up since the last time we talked last week is because the Trump coin, which we'll probably be talking about here in a moment, is also on the Solana blockchain. And so is Melania's coin, which we'll also talk about, is also on the Solana blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was a bunch of liquidity that flooded in to the Solana blockchain, potentially that lifted all those other meme coins that are also hosted on that same blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw at the same time a lot of liquidity left other blockchains like Ethereum. So a lot of meme coins are typically either hosted on Ethereum or Solana. In this case, billions of dollars flooded into the Solana blockchain because of the Trump coin that hit.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering maybe if Fartcoin was able to benefit from that event as well.
Well, now here's the kicker, though. Is it going to continue to go up?
That's the interesting unknown here. So one thing that I do know about Trump's the official Trump coin that hit, Gesundheit, sir.
Thank you.
The one thing I do know about the Trump coin that hit, everyone was worried about a rug pull. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't follow meme coins, I'll try to explain this for those listening who may not be familiar. There are countless examples of, you can call them scams potentially, where you have a meme coin where someone says, hey, we're launching this coin. It's based on this thematic thing, such as Fartcoin, right? It's a funny, silly thing. Yeah, I want to own Fartcoin, whatever. But you have scenarios where as soon as it hits the market, you have these wallets that have, let's say, 80, 90% of the entire circulating supply of this coin. So whenever other people who aren't the first people to launch this coin come flooding in to buy, of course, the price of this asset is going to skyrocket because liquidity is drying up, because it's supply and demand, right? So the price is going to skyrocket. But you have this, they call them whales because it's like a large holder, right? And you have these wallets that have 80 to 90% of the entire supply. They see the price skyrocket and they say, you know what? I'm going to sell all I have and cash out, which will then cause the entire price to plummet because now they're flooding the market with all of the supply.
Right.
So easy example, just to give an example. I know this probably makes sense to you, Riley, but just for people listening, I guess a good example would be, imagine the PlayStation 5. If people remember back to when the PlayStation 5 first hit the market, it was hard to get one.
Yep.
Now you had people that went to go buy one, and then maybe they would go on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, and they would sell it for $200-$300 more. Another good example would be Supreme, the clothing brand. Not too long ago, people would wait for the drops, they would buy it, and then they would sell it for 2 or 3 times the actual retail value for it because they knew there was limited supply in the market. Now, what happens when Sony catches up with inventory demands and they then flood the market with so many more PlayStations, that secondary market of being able to buy it at face value and then flip it for much more, that immediately dries up because there is so much supply in the market. It's not lucrative to do that anymore. Very similar with this scenario to where people were worried when the Trump coin hit that, this thing went sky high. And I'll break down the statistics here in a second to give people an understanding of how this is like a once in a lifetime thing. But I don't want to say once in a lifetime because it may happen again. But this is the first time something this crazy has happened. So people are freaking out about, okay, what happens if some of these wallets who have 60, 70, 80% of the supply in it sell and then flood the market and cause the price to absolutely plummet because there's so much supply, the price is no longer worth what it was at the time when, liquidity was drying up. I forget how I got on this tangent to begin with. I think you asked about could the price plummet?
Well, so for myself, so for example, it just went down 5 cents and now it's $2.10 total. So it's showing still 215, but I think it went down to 210. But anyways, for example, if you were to invest in crypto, Like, what would be the, no matter what the price was, like, and however much you decided to put, like, what would you invest in and how much would you put into it?
Into a meme coin?
Meme coin, any crypto that's out there, like, at like, because right now Fartcoin is, it has it at number 54, out of all 10,677 active cryptocurrencies.
It's such a tricky question because every coin, every blockchain, every protocol, I guess I would have a different opinion on how much would I invest
Mm-hmm.
and like how long would I hold on to it.
Right.
So hindsight 2020, we just had the Trump coin frenzy. I don't even know what we want to call it at this point.
Right.
If hindsight 2020, if I would have been, so here's the whole thing. Let me backtrack here for a second before I just like ramble all over the place. I was hanging out with friends. So on Friday night, that's when Trump launched the official Trump meme coin. I was playing Dungeons and Dragons over at a friend's house. So I was totally offline. Usually I'm pretty habitually tuned into what's going on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. This is one of the few times I was not. If I would have known then what I know now, I legitimately would have sunk every available dollar in my bank account into the Trump coin. But hindsight 2020, we now know that it skyrocketed tens of thousands of percents up. So like if you would have put $10 in, you would have made $10,000 if you just hung on to it for like 12 hours. So like if you're asking me that question, I'd be like, yeah, I dumped
Right.
everything into it. But
But
like in a normal scenario, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin is probably the most logical one to put money into. But I still wrestle, and I think I've talked about this on other episodes. Bitcoin, it's either the best investment you can ever make or the worst investment you can ever make. Because you have Bitcoin maximalists that will say, in our lifetime, Bitcoin is going to the multiple of millions because supply is going to dry up. You're going to get big business involved with it. There's so many bullish cases for Bitcoin. However, on the flip side, what if Bitcoin is just a psyop by intelligence agencies just to get money moving around, to get society used to having a digital currency of some kind that's trackable on a blockchain? Maybe the entire financial system will eventually be following in Bitcoin's path to a certain extent.
right.
The US government is the largest holder of Bitcoin. Is kind of sketch. I don't know. A lot of people, they don't know because Bitcoin sounds good. A lot of people have made a lot of money off of Bitcoin.
I know.
But at the same time, what if this whole thing just goes to zero one day and it's like, well, tried, who knows? You invested money at your own risk. Like, I don't
That's
know.
what worries me about just the investing in crypto. Just honestly anything, like even if I just, like, I could put $200 into Bitcoin. Would I have a full Bitcoin? No. Like, because a full Bitcoin costs you $100,000, and I don't have that. So it's like I could put $200 in there and I'd still make money on it because it would still go up. It's not like, and I wouldn't be out like a whole bunch of money at the end of the day, really.
Like, I say all this and I still remember, like, roughly even only 7, 8, maybe a decade ago, less than a decade, but around a decade ago, I was scoffing at the fact that Bitcoin even went to 13,000 and it started to appear to nosedive again. And I was like, these fools that, they invested. But it's like, now I'm like, oh my goodness. Like,
Dude.
so I say these things and I'm fully aware that within the next year, 2 years, like, I don't even know what Trump's going to do with this proposed Bitcoin national reserve for the United States, where the US strategically holds on to Bitcoin the same way we have our strategic oil reserve.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's even talking about doing this with other digital assets as well. Bitcoin is not exclusive in this conversation. So I'm fully aware that even though I say invest at your own risk, that Bitcoin very well could go to 500,000, $1 million, 25 episodes of Unscripted Company from now. Like, it really could.
Like, now that's the kind of math I want to know. If I was to put $200 into Bitcoin, like right now, like just invest it, what could I make on that $200 if it went to $500,000 in the next year or two?
If anyone tells you an answer, they're lying to you. It's 100%. Uh, I would be skeptical of anyone that tells you anything about a
Right.
specific price and guarantees because nobody knows.
Right.
There are people that will say something and then it happens and then it looks like they knew, but they just got lucky with a conservative or educated
Right.
guess.
Well, like even like in a perfect world, like traditional trends, like it's gone. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was up to what was that, 106,000 a day ago, and now it's back. It kind of went down, and now it's kind of circulating back up. Uh, and like I can even.
So let me give you a scenario here. Yeah. Okay. So on the screen right now, Bitcoin, as of recording this, is currently at $101,000. Probably going to hit 102 here in the next couple of minutes, potentially. Yep.
It just
Hits
did. Yep.
102. Boom. See, crazy how volatile this is. First of all, it happens. Now, let me give you a scenario here. A lot of people will assume it's gone up. Like, yeah, there's always dips. You know, there's always
Right.
valleys. There's always hills. It happens, but it's been going up this whole time. Well, we know that the U.S. government holds roughly 203 Bitcoin, about $12 billion, right? So what happens if, and this is a complete hypothetical, I don't think this will happen, but what if this happens to where Trump gets into office or any future president gets into office and says, you know what? What if we use some of this Bitcoin to pay off some debt, fund a project, do something, right? So what if they just sell all of that, right? That's going to put so much pressure, downward pressure in the price of Bitcoin because it's going to flood the market rather quickly.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to say like, and there's the U.S. government's not exclusive to this. There's other I can't even say individuals because we don't know who these people are. There are other wallets out there that hold large sums of Bitcoin, but they haven't sold it. They've just been sitting on it for like a decade plus.
Right. I just
So
think. Oh, go ahead.
no, you're good. Go ahead.
For me, I just think it's not dumb, but it's like I hate the fact that I don't know enough about this to know where to throw money into, not to expect a return, but like how some people are just like they just spend hours just watching this stuff, and then again, like you said, they make an educated guess half the time, and then it just works out. So it's like for me though, it's like I'm trying to just understand the trends of what's happening and what's going on and stuff like that. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, like in a perfect world, like I put $200 in there and in a year or two, I make $100,000. Like, I don't even know if that's how much what, like, depending on like the rate of return and, uh, the increase in like, as far as like the cap and stuff like that. Um, so it really just depends. But like, to me, it's like, I look at this and I'm like, I still every day shoot myself in the foot that I didn't put 10 grand into Bitcoin like before, like it really.
Dude, I had a friend. So I had a friend from high school who went to college with him. We didn't really talk too much. Like we were still like familiar. We hung out from time to time throughout college, and then we graduated. We both moved back to the Austin area. And I remember I was getting off work one day. This was after like my first, I guess you could say like office job, like adult job, basically. Got off work. I was in downtown, and he texted me and he goes, "Hey man, I'm going to this crypto conference where they're going to have some speakers just talking about blockchains and things like this." This was in, what year would this have been? 2017, I think. And at the time, I was just like, nah, man, you're crazy. Like, no, I don't have time to go like sit and listen to all this.
Right.
I was completely uneducated about it at the time. I was aware that it existed, but like I didn't know what it was. I didn't know the technology or the use case behind it. I haven't heard from that guy in many years. And I suspect that he was in very early and he made so much money that he is just off the map right now. No one has heard from this guy in years. So like odds are like he got in so early with so much, really not as much at the time, but
And that little bit turned into what probably set him up for the rest of his life, and he doesn't have to work at all.
potentially, very much potentially. Like nobody knows.
God.
Everyone that we knew that talked to him Like, we don't know where this guy is even living now. Like,
I'll tell you
we don't
what.
even know if he's alive. Like,
Next
he doesn't
thing,
do anything on social media, on the internet, nothing. He's gone. But we all know that he was very much,
I bet you I could find him.
maybe,
If you give
maybe.
me if you have a cell phone number, I bet you I could find him.
No, he doesn't. There's no, like,
Really,
no one has any info on it.
dude, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's safe to assume that, like, he's probably gotten a different cell phone number since then.
Like that. That's again. That's what frustrates me. But it's not more so like I'm mad at anyone else for capitalizing on it by any means. Because like, yo, you made a great decision. You
Yeah,
probably never
more
have to
power to
work
him.
ever again for the rest of your life. But I'm more so mad at myself because same as you, I didn't understand, and I still kind of don't understand. You know, like I'm still in that mindset where it's like I want to learn. Like I want to, like if there was ever a crypto conference going on in Dallas, you better believe I'm going to it. Like like I would drive there to go
But let
to
me
it.
ask you this: like, even if you understood it at the time, would you still have been willing to put $5,000 into this thing? This
Yep.
is before Coinbase existed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I say that because, and this is like looking at like we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
You know the amount of money on the like I spent on other things that I probably shouldn't have spent money on.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like if I would if knowing now, if I knew now, if I know what I know now back then, and even then, so if I didn't, but I had the opportunity to try to like find the next big thing that I feel like it wouldn't have been a waste of money in a sense, you know, like as an investment, then yeah, I would have done it because now I'm looking at investments. Now I'm looking at trying to set us up for our future. I just don't know where to start. I don't know where to go or what to do. Like I'm not even really looking at crypto. I'm more so looking at like, okay, let me pick 10 unrelated uh investments, not even crypto, just stocks in general, and then I'm just going to put $200 into 10 different stocks. So 2 grand, and I'm just going to let them ride. I'm not pulling any money out. I'm just going to let them ride for the next 30 years, and I'm not going to touch them. And when you have stocks like Apple, Amazon, all those are going to continually go up, honestly. So it's like I
What if
could
they don't, though?
then at least then I only lost I lost out on those.
Yeah, no, I
But
know.
if I have
Yeah.
other investments though that might actually go up, then I like. But that's the whole thing about investments is like, and I learned that method from Tony Robbins. He said like when you're investing, a lot of people were just like, I just want to invest all my money in real estate. I want to invest all my money in tech or this or this. He said pick 10 different uncorrelated investments and put the same amount of money into each of them, but it doesn't have to be a lot of money. Just put money into each of them and then just let them go. Like don't touch them, don't pull the money out, don't mess with it, just let it go.
Yeah. The I was gonna try to pull up on my desktop real quick, but I realized it's quicker on my phone. One of my favorite ETFs to actually invest in. So an ETF is like a basket of other stocks, basically. So it's a good way to describe it. Is the, what do they call it? The Texas Capital Texas Equity Index ETF. Yes, TXS ETF. I'll pull up on the screen here. What I love about this, TX, yeah. Oh wait, TX. Typos. I love when I have typos on this. Let me tell you. You know what? Let me go on Robinhood because that's a good visual.
I stopped using Robinhood.
Yeah, no, I don't ever put money in it, but I do
I did for a little
appreciate.
bit, and
Yeah,
I was wasn't good.
man, where is? Here we go. Let me do
XRP
TXS.
though, may put some money in some XRP.
Hey, you do that at your own risk, buddy. Let me throw this up here real quick. This is not financial advice in the least bit. This is just something that, friend to friend, this is something that I find that's interesting that I like to put my own money into in terms of a set it and leave it and never touch it like for like long term.
All right.
This is fun because before this existed, this is a very new ETF that came onto the market. Before this, I always told myself I had a theme with my portfolio. I like to invest with companies that are headquartered in the state of Texas because I have a thesis that Texas is the central focal point of the future of this country. And I think we've seen some of that begin to come to
Right.
fruition in our lifetime. But the reason I like this is, so this is an ETF that is comprised of different companies that are headquartered in the state of Texas. So The top 10 holdings in this comprise of Tesla, Tenet Healthcare, CrowdStrike, Digital Realty, Waste Management, McKesson, Charles Schwab, Cheniere Energy, GameStop, Crown Castle. So completely different industries. You can also see the breakup here of energy, consumer cyclical, industrials, real estate, healthcare, technology, financial services, consumer defensive, utilities, communication services, and basic materials. So what's kind of cool about this is, and this launched, when did this launch? I forget. July of 2023. So still relatively new. But this is actually a way that you can invest in companies that are headquartered in the state of Texas, but in a diversified manner.
Is that on any other app besides Robinhood?
Oh, dude, this is part of, I think this is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It's not NASDAQ, I don't believe. Yeah, so like one thing you have to remember, like Robinhood, Charles Schwab, Vanguard, like literally anywhere you're buying stocks that are on a stock exchange, like the New York Stock Exchange,
right?
NASDAQ. If you really want to have fun with it, you can go look at the Canadian Stock Exchange or the Toronto. Here in the next year or so, Texas is going to have their own stock exchange with new companies listing on there.
Right.
Probably going to be a lot of oil.
So
and gas
definitely
listing,
a lot of future opportunity coming up for
maybe, like between you and I, and this is not financial advice. Once the Texas Stock Exchange launches, I think it's going to be very lucrative because it's a new opportunity for companies that historically couldn't find an opportunity to list on the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ for various reasons. I think it's like a new frontier for investment.
Yeah.
Now, the proof's going to be in the pudding, so we'll see like what it actually looks like when it launches. But it's going to be based out of Dallas, so it's going to be a legitimate stock exchange that's based in Texas.
Right. Now, is this the kind of one where you would like put money into it and just leave it?
Yep.
I'm gonna have to look into that. Throw like $500 into it, just let it go.
Trust me. I do my research. I feel confident, but I'm not an expert at this. So everyone listening, take my words with such a huge grain of kosher salt.
You're making some DMs, dog.
Always think for yourself. Always investment is always a risky business.
Right.
But the few things I know to be true, if you try to day trade, you are going to end up losing more money than you'll ever make unless you become a professional at it, which you and I probably won't be able to get there in the next 10 years. Too much. Like if you have a day job, you cannot afford to day trade. First of all, that's not saying you can't buy something to sell it a month later if it pops or there's a short squeeze or things like that. There's anomalies to what I'm saying here. Rules are meant to be broken. The second part is, statistically speaking, and there's been multiple universities, institutions that have done studies on this.
Right.
You are more likely to have better returns if you just incrementally make purchases and let it sit versus trying to time the market. People that try to time the market always end up screwing themselves in some way or the other because usually they let their emotions get involved versus those that say, you know what, I'm going to invest $10, $100, $1,000, $20,000, whatever your appetite for investment is.
Right.
Those that just like let it drip and just let it, trickle in over time, they end up doing much better
because it's a numbers thing. Like, because you're not like predicting anything, but at the same time you're doing your research. So it's like if you're looking at the previous trends of what that investment's done and how it's performed, and then you're basing your investment off of that to kind of calculate what it might do in the future, then that's where people are getting their stuff at. But then you get people that are just like, oh, this one's doing really good, I'm just going to throw money into this one and it's going to still do really good, and then it just tanks. And then so it's you still have to do your research. And I've done a little bit, probably nowhere near as much as you have, but I've done a little bit. But it's still something. Again, I turned 30 in 2 months, like less than 2 months, about 2.5 months, give or take. And I need to start like looking at some serious investments for, the next 30 years of my life, and real estate is, eventually I plan on investing in as far as like fix and flips. May not do any like rentals or anything like that unless, maybe I get a couple of them and then I just have a property manager that manages everything for me.
Rental sounds stressful unless you can afford to have a third-party agency like handle all the communication with the client.
Exactly. And some of them aren't even really that expensive. I mean, with the amount of clients that these third-party companies probably also already have, you could just pay them an additional fee or like whatever they would charge their fee for. It might be like, okay, well, we're going to charge you $2,500 a month to manage these companies. Okay, well, not only are they managing your couple properties for $2,500 a month, but they've also got 10 other people that they're doing business with that they're managing, and they probably charge by how many rentals you have.
Exactly.
And so that's something that investment wise for that, but definitely want to get more as far as like investing. This year, I'm still hopeful for a really good year. I got a lot of good prospects right now, so it's just staying on top of those. And once things start really working out, then I can start kind of putting some money into some stuff. Finally opened up my Chase account. So now I actually officially have a business account in my LLC. So it's nice now. Like
Nice.
I'm in business.
It's real. It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah. There are taxes that have to be reported. It is a real thing now.
I still paid my taxes for anyone
Nice.
who's listening. I didn't have to pay the first couple years because I spent a lot of money that I wasn't making, and so I may have to pay a little bit this year. But I still have some tax credits from the first 2 years that roll over after for a certain period of time. So I may just have my CPA be like, "Hey, kind of struggling with some money right now. You think you can use some of the tax credits for me to kind of help me out a bit?" But I still put money back though. I have a whole separate account that's used just for taxes. And then I got to pay quarterly taxes and stuff too now, which that kind of sucks. I'm like, why do I got to pay quarterly taxes now? So,
Yeah.
but that's just the name of the game. But enough about investing. I know we will. I mean, unless we want to continue talking about the Trump coin, because I know you kind of briefly mentioned that, but we definitely have a few more juicy stories and some other things that we'll probably talk about that are still currently unfolding as we're on here. So, if you want to kick it off and go from there,
For sure. I can actually dive into the official Trump meme coin real quick. For those who may be listening to this and have no idea what's going on, because this was really a viral moment for the financial industry, if we can even call it that, because it's crypto and it's unregulated to a certain extent, and it's just absolutely crazy. So Zero Hedge had a really good article on this. I'm going to use this to try to best explain what the heck has happened in the last 72 hours with this Trump meme coin. So the headline says, Trump unveils official meme coin late Friday, this past Friday. 12 hours later, it is up 16,000%, up to $30 billion. So, context here says, just hours after Gary Gensler, who was the Security and Exchange Commissioner, ended up stepping down because new president's coming in. That's a position that usually if a new party's coming in, they're going to put their own guy in there. It's a whole hoopla there, politics. So just hours after Gary Gensler left the SEC headquarters for the last time in his life, Trump showed the world what an outsized role crypto and certainly meme coins will have in his administration. After nearly a year of frenzied speculation, which of the dozens of Trump-linked meme coins the 47th president will pick as his own, just before 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday night, and just 2 days before his inauguration as the 47th president of the United States, Trump stunned, and I emphasis on this, Trump stunned the world when he unveiled on his Truth Social and X accounts his official meme coin, Trump. So, what happened? In just 12 hours since the unveiling of this official Trump meme coin, it surged to a $30 billion market cap or market capitalization, roughly 3 times bigger than Trump's other momentum chasing venture, DJT, which is what Truth Social. So DJT is a stock. It's a company that Truth Social is, which in and of itself has a market cap of $8.7 billion and has roughly the same amount of revenue or cash flow as the meme coin itself. As part of an exponential move that has seen its market cap rise and occasionally fall by $1 billion every few minutes. So he actually posted on Truth Social and his X account. He says, "My new official Trump meme is here. It's time to celebrate everything we stand for, winning. Join my very special Trump community. Get your Trump now. Go to gettrumpmemes.com, have fun. And it has an image of him. It says fight, fight, fight. He's got his fist in the air. It's good marketing. The token started trading at an opening price of $0.1824. 18 cents. But get this, within just 12 hours, it had jumped to over 15,000%, trading at roughly $30 as of 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Actually, no, this was yesterday as of recording, 12 hours after its launch. Its market cap stood at about $30 billion at that time. Now, here's what's crazy. Since this article got posted, the price went up to above $60. So, like, this is such child's play compared to, like, what the reality of the situation is currently.
So, and this kind of goes back to a question I had a bit ago. Let's say at the 18 cents, okay?
Yeah.
I had 10 grand.
Yeah.
That I would have been willing to, like, you know what? Let's just see what happens. How much would let's do the math on that. How much would like, do you know how much I probably could have made if I would have put 10 grand in there? Like, how would we do that math? Like, if we predicted where it's at $60 right now.
Let me give you a real example here from the Kobayashi letter. It says, this is incredible. A Trump meme coin, Trump, trader who bought roughly $1.09 million of the coin 36 hours ago. This trader is still holding for a total unrealized gain of over $406 million. That's over 372 times their original investment. So if you would have put $10 in at some point way early on, you could have made $10,000.
And if I would have put 10,000 in there,
exponential, just put zeros at the end of it, basically.
We could have bought a studio. We could have done so much. And this is the thing, is like, I didn't even know about this until literally, like, I saw people talking about it on X today, and I was like, dude, I'm so mad right now. Like, and here's the thing, you probably could still put money into it, but knowing my luck, I'd put $5,000 into it, and then it would just tank the next day.
It happens. Rug pulls happen all the time, including in the actual stock market itself. You have scenarios where certain stocks, maybe there's a short squeeze, maybe there's some news that drops and people are like, yo, I don't want to miss out on this. Let me throw some money in there. And then it tanks right after because people have sold the gains that they have made at the same time. So it absolutely happens. There's more info on here. So Donald Trump's meme coin, Trump, doubled overnight and is currently trading up more than 28,000% in the plus in roughly 36 hours. The coin is now up more than the S&P 500 has returned since 1971, or 54 years of returns. Why did it double overnight? Well, they're going to explain here. The coin is officially trading above $75 for the first time in history. This puts the total market cap at $15 billion, with over $2 billion in volume in the last 24 hours alone. Now, between 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 6 a.m., prices doubled in the Trump meme coin. So what happened during the overnight session? We started seeing a large ratio of buyers to sellers after 12 a.m. Over the last 24 hours, there have been roughly 38,500 sellers for every 13,300 buyers. That's effectively roughly 3 sellers for every buyer in this market. $1.1 billion of buy volume for $850 million of sales. Demand significantly outpaced supply in the Trump meme coin. This has made Trump's meme coin the 12th largest cryptocurrency in the world in under 2 days. It's now nearly around $1 billion larger than Chainlink and only $5 billion smaller than Tron, which are other meme-related cryptocurrencies. This is truly insane to watch. So here's an image. You can actually see where it compares. Number 12 on the list. You can see actually at number 7, you can see Dogecoin up there. To put this in perspective, this puts Trump up 28,000% since its launch. This outpaces the S&P 500's return since 1971. Over this period, the S&P 500 has averaged roughly plus 11% per year. Not even Bitcoin has seen the rapid growth that we are seeing now. Adding fuel to the fire was Coinbase and Binance's announcements last night. Both of the world's largest exchanges announced that they would be listing the Trump meme coin. Why did it push prices higher? Because it can widen the gap between buyers and sellers in a tight market. And to add even more fuel to the fire, Binance added USD margin contracts for Trump. Now, this allows traders to take up to 25 times leverage on the coin. 25x leverage on an asset this volatile is hard to comprehend. Be sure to manage your risk, they post. These contracts just went live. So it means like you put up some money, you put up a bet, times 25 on that. If it goes up, well, you did 25 times better than what you would have bet. But if it goes down, you just lost 25x what you just put in there.
Oh, God.
Interestingly, since the launch 36 hours ago, Donald Trump has actually been quiet. In fact, his only post on X was a repost of his son, Eric Trump. The post calls the Trump meme coin the hottest digital meme on earth. At this point, we have confirmation Trump is backing the coin, but that is it. Kind of crazy. Yeah. Now, you wanna get a little more crazy with what's happening here?
Well, let's get a little bit more crazy.
So let's keep it in the family a little bit here. The future, two-time First Lady of the United States of America, also has a meme coin that launched today, as of recording. As of 3:24 Central Standard Time today, January 19th, Melania Trump has launched the Melania meme coin. Now, thankfully, the same account. What just happened? Well, Melania Trump, the First Lady of the United States, just launched her own meme coin, otherwise known as Melania. Less than 48 hours ago, Donald Trump, of course, what we just talked about, he launched Trump, which just erased $7.5 billion in market cap in just 10 minutes alone. Wondering what happened? They're going to explain. At 4:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Melania Trump made the below post launching her meme coin. Just minutes later, Donald Trump reposted the post himself while at his victory rally, which was kind of hilarious. I saw the Village people were actually there. The people that do the YMCA song, he actually had them there doing the YMCA with him. So people are bought into Trump at this point. Now, all of a sudden, a buyer demand collapsed in Donald Trump's meme coin, Trump, and supply surged. Moments later, they posted on X that the coin had launched. Prior to Donald Trump reposting her announcement, Trump didn't really change that much in terms of overall price. But after he reposted and the breaking news hit, Trump, the meme coin, fell roughly 55% in minutes. So imagine if you had bought at that top and you lost it.
Yep.
Or you lost 55% of it, of whatever you put in there.
Yep.
Prior to the launch of Melania, buyers had far outweighed sellers in the Trump meme coin. Leading into the Melania launch, there had been roughly 38,500 sellers for every 13,300 buyers. That's effectively roughly around 3 sellers for every buyer in this market. This is why the price kept on rising. Now, in the moments after the launch of Melania, we saw seller volume far outweigh buyer volume. So as soon as Melania hit, people that had bought into Trump said, hold on a minute. There's more money to be made. I'm selling, I'm buying into Melania. So they sold everything they had in Trump. They're buying into Melania. So the Trump meme coin price started to tank while Melania started to surge. So you had people that made life-changing money on Trump, took that cash and said, you know what? Let's hop right back on another roller coaster, shall we? Because history often, it may not repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So they said, hey, I'm going to dump my earnings back into Melania and let's ride this wave yet again.
But hers is only at 11 cents right now. So if we're gonna get some Melania coin, we need to hop on that now.
Now here's what's interesting. The Melania meme coin, the website that's hosting it, according to Unusual Whales and some other accounts I've seen posts on this, apparently that website was literally set up yesterday. That's also when the domain was created, the .com.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of kind of sus, if you ask me.
Like, do you think it's like a like sus is in like they're trying to do like a similar aspect to the Haktua girl, or do you think it's like the Trump coin came out? Because I did notice that it went down to like $48 a share from the 75 that it was at. Do you think that they were trying to do like okay, we're going to do all this to make all this money, and then everyone's going to sell and tank it, and then they're going to go to this one and do the same thing just to try to get money? So like again, like what you said about like the theory behind just circulating cryptocurrency around just to see what happens.
I have no idea. Like, I truly don't. My guess is I think they saw the success with the Trump meme coin and said, who else can we do this with? Melania makes the most sense, being the wife of
Right.
Trump. What's weird about this whole thing is because crypto at large is an unregulated industry,
Mm-hmm.
there's really no rules to this game. So one half of me wants to say this is a scam. Like, this is a straight up scam to create hype, create opportunity for a select few.
Right.
But then the other half of me says, go win, go get your money. Like, because
Like,
everyone has an opportunity to participate in this.
right.
There are no gatekeepers to this industry.
Right.
Anyone can participate at their own risk.
Right. Now, I will say I don't think it's a scam. And this is coming from someone because I did invest in crypto, like very, very like it was literally like 3 days I was invested in crypto, and then I sold it, and then I made a little bit of money, and that was it. And I invested in Dogecoin, the Shiba Inu, and I think like total in all I made like $1,200. Like, like I didn't make a lot. And so I don't think it's necessarily fake. I just think it almost, in a way, it's almost the similar. It has some similarities, like with the S&P 500, like some very much those similarities. But because it's so unregulated and they don't have the backing of those 500 companies with that money, with how much they're actually going to make in that day, that's what makes the unpredictability so hard with this, because you essentially there's no physical money until you actually sell it and you make the money. So it's like, okay, so you're looking at a different one than I'm looking at then.
Yeah, so this is the Melania. It's currently $7.76. We can see where it
Okay.
peaked at roughly just above $13.
So then wait.
And
So
there's only
then
been one day of this. I'll preface, like, similar to Trump's coin, it's only been a couple of days. This has only been a couple hours. This has only been since like 5:30.
I mean, we could still buy some Melania.
I am staying so far away from this. I do not plan
Yeah.
on, if I were to go into one over the other, it would be the Trump one over Melania. You go
Yeah.
for the king, you don't go for the queen, the prince, the pauper. You go for the big
Right.
kahuna, right? The one thing is interesting. I still need to do my due diligence on this. So for those listening, like, I don't know if this is factually true, but I think it was Unusual Whales. They did some due diligence on the Trump meme coin and the disbursement of the whales that were involved. Now, what do I mean by that? So back at the beginning of the episode, I gave this a scenario of how you have whales. You have large holders of a coin, an
Mm-hmm.
asset. And so you have scenarios where you have a bunch of people flood in, they increase the price because there's a lot of demand, but then you have this guy over here that owns 80%. He says, screw it, I'm going to get my nut. He sells it all. And that causes the price to tank. That's what they refer to as a rug pull, right?
Right.
That is, I don't want to say like by definition, but by definition, it is a scam. That's what happened with Haktua, right? Price increase. They said, hey, we're pulling out. Price tanked. Everyone
Well,
lost everything.
I
Go ahead.
think the problem with that too is she had control over her own thing.
I think there was a company she was working with to make that happen, though. So I
Well,
remember.
that's the thing. They should. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think like, and this is where the regulated versus non-regulated comes into play. I think in a way it shouldn't be like heavily regulated, but I think it should be a company all on its own that makes these coins. It shouldn't be the person who like, does it all and then giving them the ability to shut it off and to capitalize on the money and drain it all out and then do whatever they're doing and stuff like that. I don't think that should be the case because that's how she got away with that. Versus like if it was like a company that just did their thing and created these coins, and so it was a regulated, again, you don't necessarily want the government involved, but at the same time, I mean, the government's going to be involved anyways because you got to pay taxes.
This is not, to my understanding, it's crypto. It's not a taxable event. You can self-report on taxes, but right now it's an unregulated industry.
I thought if you made a certain percentage, you had to.
I think that is what they would like you to do. Definitely fact check me on that, but it's still optional. It's not.
Yeah, because I totally paid my taxes on the $1,200 that I made that time.
Uncle Sam thanks you, good sir.
Yeah.
But kind of going back to what I said, I was trying to figure out. There was one other post I couldn't find on the fly real quick, but this is a good one from Unusual Whales to try to explain what I'm in reference to here. So they posted that 80% of all the virtual assets that Trump, like the Trump meme coin, 80% of all of it is owned by a Trump organization affiliate called CIC Digital LLC and a related entity called Fight 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 LLC per Bloomberg. Their holdings will be their holdings will be unlocked over a 3-year period. According to the affiliated site, 200 million of the token immediately became available, a supply that will grow to 1 billion over 3 years. So the one interesting thing about this is, according to what I've understood based on reading Unusual Whales and other people that are like diving deep in the weeds with this, is there may not be a rug pull with this initially, because the wallets that hold the vast majority of all available tokens
are backed by a.
Well, they're under lock and key for a moment to say that, like, hey, you can't sell these assets for a certain period of time. I guess a good real world example of this would be those that work for a publicly traded company or potentially even a private company that have share offerings as part of the compensation package. There's usually a vesting period for those stocks to where it's like, hey, we'll give you 500 shares, 1,000 shares, whatever, the breakdown is of that. But you as an employee, you cannot immediately sell those as soon as the company gives them to you. You have to vest them. It could be a year, it could be 5 years, it could be 15 years.
Right.
Every company has their own different policy with that, but it prevents you from immediately like liquidating those, which is interesting because that seems like that's what's going on here. Is 80% of all of this Trump meme coin is owned
right
by other companies, or two companies in particular that have close ties to Trump. So there may not be a rug pull, but I don't know. That we're so early into this whole thing.
Right. Well, we've talked a lot about crypto.
Yeah.
So that
yeah.
So this being kind of like, like we're on episode 51, but we're officially in season 2 of Unscripted Company. So, we're eventually going to be, we're still going to be making some changes, working on some new stuff for everyone. So even if this episode runs a little bit over the hour time, we still have a couple things that I would personally like to cover because I'm interested in one quick one that I'll throw up, and then you have 2 things on your third one that I definitely want to hit on both of those. Definitely. But the one that I want to chat on, and I literally came across this like minutes before we launched this episode. So the a LinkedIn co-founder predicts the death of 9-to-5 jobs by 2034. I'm talking about how AI and the gig economy will reshape the workforce. So according to LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, the traditional 9-to-5 job might soon be a thing of the past. Recent viral video of Hoffman shows him predicting that the 9-to-5 work model will be extinct by 2034. He believes the gig economy and the rise of artificial intelligence will replace the traditional full-time job. Hoffman argues that the workforce is undergoing a profound transformation. You may not do a lot of your work fully as an employee, Hoffman explains. You may actually be working in the gig economy, or you may have 2 or 3 gigs. He notes that this shift offers increased productivity and flexibility opportunities, but creates uncertainty around stable employment. I mean, if I'm being honest, me personally, I'm kind of already there because I'm not traditional 9 to 5. And aside from real estate, whatever happens with this podcast, and then any of the other business ventures that I'm, kind of just playing scenarios in my head and trying to I need to throw it on paper and kind of see how it would work out in the future. I'm essentially already there. Um, and then it says Neil Taparia, an entrepreneur and investor, shares Hoffman's sentiments and posted on X that we should probably listen to his latest prediction, referring to the death of the 9 to 5 work model. Taparia pointed out that Hoffman's past predictions have turned out true, including he predicted social networks would change the world. In 1997, he predicted the rise of social media. And we're going to get into more of that with a particular one here in a few minutes. He saw the sharing economy coming, early Airbnb investor. He called the AI revolution years before ChatGPT. Not everyone shares Hoffman's beliefs. However, Jay Zagorski, a professor of markets, public policy, and law at Boston University Questrom School of Business, told the National News that while he agrees with some of Hoffman's views, he doesn't believe full-time or traditional 9 to 5 jobs will go away completely. Instead, he sees a continuation of what's happening right now, where there's a split between flexible time jobs and fixed time jobs. All these jobs, from cleaners to air traffic control workers, all share the same common feature. When the shift is over, the person is done with work, he said. These jobs are not going to disappear no matter what the pronouncements from Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. Don't necessarily have to continue on with that. I kind of agree with both scenarios. Again, we talked about this on a few episodes back, but there may be some jobs that, AI is probably going to do. I mean, I think Elon Musk came out and said within the next 5 years, he plans on producing 1 million AI robots or something like that. Like I saw that on X.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Million?
Yeah, he said that he wants to have 1 million produced, but I don't know if it's in the next 5 years or if it's in the next 10 years. Something. But hey, either way.
Have you seen the videos of those things starting to run around?
Yeah.
Like literally running up hills. It's kind of
wild. But I could see some jobs kind of going down, but at the same time though, I think we're already kind of transitioning. Like there are still 9 to 5 jobs, but I think you still have the work from home, or if you don't work from home, you part-time in the office, part-time at home, or you have the people again, like myself or others, where, you're all about like the creativity business mindset. Like how can I create something that is of value to people to, market that and make a revenue off of it. And so I don't know. I don't know about his prediction. What about you?
I remember I posted a short on YouTube clipping. I think it was like 2 episodes ago, maybe. I think a lot of people that are employed to sit at a desk and click things on a screen, I personally believe a lot of those jobs are at risk. However, people who have jobs that require them to physically be touching things, and what do I mean by that? Blue collar, I think that's safe. There's definitely a lot of blue collar that isn't safe due to automation, such as like factory work. Like we've seen, like Amazon warehouses, they get robots that can actually go and grab the product, grab the box, pack the box, things like that. Like, yeah, those are warehouse automation is always going to be at risk as we become more efficient doing that. But HVAC, plumbers, those jobs are going to they're already becoming kind of like a gold mine. The next generation of millionaires really are those blue collar workers that we're experiencing right now. But I think if you're in customer service, client service, some of those, especially for low ticket offerings, I think those jobs are very much at risk in the next 5 years of, I don't want to say elimination, but pay will decrease because your involvement in an active role like that will decrease. What do I mean by that? Today, let's just use like a random SaaS company, right? Software as a service.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a customer service rep for that, where you answer support tickets, you do live chat, you do things like that to help people troubleshoot problems to better enhance their experience on a platform or the service. Those roles are going to slowly fade out and be replaced by AI. I think there's always going to be a human element there, but instead of having a team of 50 people all doing this in unison in real time together, working 9 to 5. I know the hours aren't technically 9 to 5, but using
Right.
that as a boilerplate language, I think it'll be more so where you have a smaller cohort of team members, employees that are well versed in how to manage, maintain, and enhance these AI platforms to better serve the customer base. So you'll see roles be eliminated, but at the same time, they'll become much more technical and highly skilled. So pay may increase, but there will be less roles available because you'll need to be the upper echelon of those within that industry.
That's why I think it's definitely imperative, like no matter what industry you're in, try to develop a skill set. Try to learn something new, try to grow your knowledge. Like I don't have a college degree. So it's like I want to say that I'm limited in what I can and can't do, but that's not true. Like the limits are only by what I hold myself back from. So it's like honestly and truthfully, like if I have the skill set and I've got the portfolio and I've got the experience with it, cool. But at the same time, that's also why I would just start my own, business at the end of the day. Like I wouldn't really necessarily worry about that. Now there's people out there who may not necessarily always have that option, but I always think that it's best to have not all your eggs in one basket. Like don't get me wrong, real estate is my bread and butter, and it is what I pay my bills with. So I have to put the time and work and effort into that. Um, and other than that, there's so many other uncontrollables that we can't control. But when it comes to AI, it's better to learn it and utilize it than to not, because if you learn it and utilize it, you may be very well one of those people that they decide to keep around that's got the experience in AI that will be able to be of use to those companies.
Now, a short thought, real quick, because I know you're about to dive into the article you just pulled up, which is a great article. Highly recommend everyone go read it because it's very eye opening. Do you remember it wasn't that long ago that you had the whole mantra of learn to code, where you had people in white collar America telling blue collar folks, you need to learn to code to become successful in this country because it's high paying jobs. Well, now we live in a world where AI can do the majority of coding.
Mm-hmm.
And so coders are not highly sought after as they used to be 5-10 years ago. What is the version of this 10 years from now? I'm not telling you to like have an answer for that, but just something for people to think about is, while yes, I'm saying that AI is going to replace or enhance people's current roles in companies, we don't know what that next thing is.
Right.
So I know you're about to dive into this article, which is good.
No, I agree. Like I think, we don't know what the next thing is. Like it's going to be like, we don't know what the next big AI is going to be. As far as we know right now, ChatGPT probably still is that top, slot for what people utilize. But they have different ones. I mean, you have your Google ones, you have, all these other ones that they come out with. But I've only mostly used ChatGPT. So if there's any other ones out there, then I definitely would like to know about those, so that again, it's just learning. I mean, the AI is learning from you, but you're also learning from the AI as well. So like you're essentially feeding off each other to gain the knowledge that you need. So
yeah, there's definitely a bunch out there. You have ChatGPT with OpenAI, you have Cloud, you have Gemini with Google, you have Perplexity. There's definitely a bunch out there, and so some people are even talking about is ChatGPT even relevant 3 years from now, because so much other development and enhancement happens to where, like, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Growing up, I don't know if you remember, like, do you remember AOL? Do you remember Netscape?
Yep.
Do you remember MySpace? Not even relevant at all today.
Yeah.
OpenAI is that for this current generation.
I could see that. But also too, I think that they're still. I don't think that they're going to slow down on what they're doing. I just think there's going to be so much coming out in the next 3 to 5 years that it's just gonna. I don't want to say it's going to flood the market with all kinds of different AIs and stuff, but we're already heading in that direction. I just think ChatGPT is one of the is just the beginning of what we're going to see with AI.
Yeah.
Because if you have to think about it, AI has been around, but it wasn't really until ChatGPT where we started noticing these other AI tools and things like that. So definitely going to be interesting to see. We'll talk off screen about that because I'm interested to know some of those. But you mentioned something, Darren, what you were talking about with like blue collared workers and like certain people get laid off and then like how certain jobs are going to be like the next gold mine. Well, I can't remember I can't remember if we talked about this or if I saw this video somewhere.
We
But
talked
someone
about
was
this last week on the live stream.
did we really
This is
okay
the
yeah
article I pulled up talking about the lack of farmers in
yeah
Texas.
so just to kind of reiterate again for some people who might not have seen that live stream, go check it out. It was awesome. Um, we especially in Texas, so Texas is very large. If you've never been to Texas, I mean Texas is massive.
You could fit like 1,000 Delawares into here.
Yeah. Um there was an article that was done on this gentleman named Jimmy Drake who started farming when he was 18. Uh when he had hold on. Let's see here. Yeah, so he had a longtime employee resigned, working 2,500 acres, more than 3 times the size of the state fair of Texas. Alone was suddenly daunting. At 85, Drake had to call it quits. But unlike his father and grandfather before him, Drake's children won't be taking over on the farm. So if you've never really grown up in like a farm and ranch setting or like anything like that where that's how your family made their money, you want to have a family and everything like that, but when you have a family, a lot of the purpose for you having that family is for them to study agriculture, study farming methods, study all these things because they are going to take over the family business because that's what it alludes to. um if you have never seen the movie Interstellar, watch that movie because it kind of talks about some similarities here with how the farming aspect and stuff like that. But um that's just the unfortunate reality. Now, Drake, who is now 86 years old, is not the only farmer who faced this dilemma. He won't be the last. In 2017, there were nearly 41,000 Texas farmers who were 75 or older. There were another 65,000 between the ages of 65 and 74. It's as much a fact as the sun rises in the east, Texas farmers are getting older and can't continue the hard labor. The steady increase in the age of farmers is not unique to Texas and is part of a national trend. The 2017 agricultural census found the average age of all U.S. farmers rose 1.2 years from the 2012 census. You keep continuing on. They also had another statistic. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I saw it before I got onto the website, but there are, so the young farmers, those 35 and under, who do take this on, only account for about 9% of the state's farmers.
One thing to call out too here, just
Farms.
because you have the stat up on the screen, look 2 paragraphs above that, talking about how the cost of a tractor.
Oh yeah.
So one thing is because like these John Deere tractors, these other tractors are like, they're more than a car, which is like a lot of people who live in cities, I don't think realize this, to where if you want to go out and you're like, hey, I want to become a farmer. Well, not only do you have to either acquire, inherit, or purchase the land, you then have to get the supplies and the tools to then farm the land itself. Yep. And in this example, they're doing a narrative about this this family. They're talking about his first tractor cost $49,000. Now that doesn't even include if it was new, was it used, what if you have to do maintenance on it. So many of these tractors have computers in them the same way our cars do. So
yep.
If something breaks down on it, you can't take it to a Firestone and be like, hey, can you like do a diagnostic on this? It's like, nah, bro, you get a specialist to come out there and you pay them thousands of dollars to fix it.
Right. No, I mean, I agree. And the thing is, I was like, I think we're all like here. We need to get back to a point where we actually start gaining people that are actually willing to do this stuff. I'll be honest with you. We live in a world where people our age, and I'm not talking about us because we're not like that, but people our age are a bunch of freaking pansies, and they don't want to do hard labor work and not even necessarily hard labor, but they don't want to work for what they're achieving.
I don't want
You
to do hard
know,
labor work. I don't want to work on a
I
farm.
didn't grow up doing hard stuff like this, but I grew up,
I can respect it, but I don't want to do it.
listen, I'm just saying, like, I grew up, like, again, not doing stuff like this, but I did grow up, working hard to, gain skill sets and stuff like that.
Definitely, yeah.
I just think it's important that people have that skill set, because what's going to happen if the farmers in Texas, like, I mean, yeah, we have other states to worry about. What's going to happen if the farmers in Texas just decided, they're not going to do it anymore? Well, then you're not going to get your food. You're not going to get your vegetables. You're not going to get all this other
Oh
stuff.
no, you still
And
will, but it's going to come from big pharma.
yeah,
Basically, it's
and
going to
I don't
they're
want that.
not pharmaceuticals, big like farms and corporate large monopolies will come in, purchase the land.
And this is why I want my own land. I want to grow my own crops, not even large amounts of crops, just enough crops for myself and whoever else is living at our home. And we'll just go buy some whole cows and just breed our own cows and take them, process them, and there you go. There's our stuff. Just wanted to kind of touch base on that because you mentioned that about some, like, the blue collar jobs, but definitely the farming aspect is a huge aspect in Texas. Definitely got to keep an eye on that kind of stuff, because a lot of people don't have the aspirations to do it. They don't even teach a lot of these classes in schools anymore, which is a sad thing. They took away a lot of the hands-on classes that teach you skill sets and stuff. But yeah, we'll get off that. Like I said, you have two topics at the end here that I saw that I definitely want to touch on. Both have to do with a certain man who's getting inaugurated tomorrow, as our next president. So take it
Yeah.
away.
So it's kind of interesting. I guess I got two things to hit on real quick. The first one, just because I think it's interesting for conversation here, is Donald Trump's going to be inaugurated on Monday. By the time this episode gets uploaded and posted, he is the new president, 47th president of the United States of America. One thing that's been floating around here is the 200 plus executive orders that he plans to sign day one. Now, one thing I also saw, have open another tab, is apparently word on the street is he also is going to reverse basically every single executive order that Biden put into place. So day one, he's going to undo everything Biden did in terms of executive orders. But then on the flip side, he's going to enact 200 plus of his own. Per Fox and Eric Daughtry, here are some of what Trump is going to sign into law via executive order as of inauguration day, or at least within the first week. Some of these are very interesting, so feel free to chime in if one of this really hits hard. Per Fox, the 200 plus executive orders tomorrow could include declare emergency at the border and issue a proclamation closing the border altogether. This is the one I'm most interested in. Designate cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Remain in Mexico, catch and release will be reinstated. Military will be directed to construct new phase of border wall. Terminate Biden orders on energy drilling restrictions. Return federal workers to in-person work because they've been working remotely.
Yeah.
Pause all offshore wind leases. End DE&I hiring practices in the federal government, merit-only hires. Withdraw from the Paris Climate Accords. Order every agency to remove all federal actions, increasing costs for Americans via deregulation. Suspend security clearances for the 51 officials who lied about the Hunter Biden 2020 laptop story. And establish a DOGE hiring freeze, which means that's the Department of Government Efficiency. It's a new thing that they're spinning up. Basically just hiring freeze across the board. Now, on my end, I want to pause here for a second. It's the second one here that I think is the most intriguing one to talk about. And we don't have to talk about it right now, but just something for people to think about is if you designate cartels as a foreign terrorist organization, what does that mean for asylum seekers? Because if you designate the cartels as a terrorist organization, I'm not debating if they are or not. There's some sneaky evil bastards down there. I will say that. They are clever, they are evil, and they are sneaky. And a couple of other adjectives I could throw out there too, but this is somewhat of a family program. But if you designate them as a terrorist organization, does that not allow literally anyone to come across that border as an asylum seeker? Now, I'm sure there's going to be some other regulation put in place. I'll be honest with you, I'm not an expert when it comes to the legal law of
Right.
what it means to actually come across the southern border. I mean, I understand the high level understanding of
Right.
different routes you can take, but to my understanding, if you were to label them as terrorist organizations, that gives everyone the right to come across and seek asylum because they're fleeing terrorism.
Well, I think also too, so like they can come across and seek asylum, but I think they still have to go through the proper channels to do so. Like it's not gonna be like what the video, like all the videos and stuff we saw, which again, take it all with a grain of salt because everything you see on the news may or may not be true. But when you see just the hundreds upon thousands of, foreign people coming across the borders, like through the river, under the barbed wire, all that kind of stuff. Like, to be fair, the argument could have been made then that they were seeking asylum also because of how bad their own country is, but they still sent them back. So it's like, I'm pretty sure there's going to be an asylum like bill or something put in place. Like they're going to be doing something, but you're still going to have to go through the proper channels to make it all happen and to actually come back over here to seek that asylum. And it goes hand in hand with the catch and release. So it's like, if you come over here, technically you're coming, like if you don't follow the proper channels, you're coming over here illegally, whether or not you're seeking asylum or not, you're coming over here illegally. I don't have issues with people coming over here. Again, just follow the proper channels. Like, does it suck that you may have to wait anywhere from 1 day to 5 years before you can actually come over here? That does suck, and I'm sorry that you have to do that. But there's so many other people that are actually going about it the right way that it's not fair for other people just to just straight up come over here and they're here. Like, and at the end of the day, I mean, apparently according to Trump and everybody else, they're gonna find you. Like, so there's gonna be a lot of probably prime empty real estate that's gonna be ready to be sold at some point. But I don't know. Like, I feel like that's gonna be like a catch-22. I truly do. The other one for me that kind of is interesting is the security clearances for the 51 officials that lied about the Hunter Biden 2020 laptop story.
Yeah, I think that's the funnest of the bunch.
I think that's going to be the funnest one to see happen because, I feel like this is like the beginning of him snuffing out all the people who did the things that they shouldn't have done. Now, don't get me wrong, Trump is not, Mr. Perfect by any means. Like, he's definitely done some things in his past and probably still currently now that we probably don't even know about. But at least he's, going after people who shouldn't have done certain things that they shouldn't have done, and at the same time, everything that he had to go through just to even get back to the presidency. I know a lot of people probably are going to disagree with that, and that's okay. But when was the last time you actually seen a president not have two election cycles in a row, but then fight their way back for the next 4 years to go back into the race and, get indicted like twice, 2 or 3 times, and then have all the charges just dropped altogether? And then he's just like, what up? I'm here. I'm the new president. Like,
and then drops a meme coin and
then drops a meme coin. So like, it's just, I don't know. It's just impressive more so. But yeah, I think that's probably the one that's going to be the most interesting aside from the first two, kind of going from there. So,
yeah. Last but not least, just to quickly touch on it in case people weren't aware, I'll use my own thread that I've been keeping up with over the last weeks, months, etc. TikTok is back, but between the last time you and I talked, TikTok was gone. So quick rewind real quick. Trump and Biden, both administrations, they created this bill, this law to say, if TikTok wasn't sold to a U.S. company by January 19th, 2025, which is literally today, as of recording, January 19th, that it was going to be illegal to basically access or, have TikTok be accessible within the country. And so you had the scenario where TikTok, tried to fight it through legal court cases. They went through a DC circuit court. Unanimously, the judges upheld the law, said no, it's a thing. U.S. lawmakers ended up telling Apple, Google, they better be ready to remove TikTok from the app stores on January 19th. Supreme Court got involved. I know we talked about this in a prior episode where it's like, well, Supreme Court is like, okay, we're going to expedite this. Let's hear it out to see if we can, let's make a final ruling on it before January 19th. We talked about this on a prior episode. TikTok ban seems to me at the time like a game of chicken. It's either, Supreme Court says yes or no, or TikTok, kind of backs out and they say, hey, screw it, we're going to shut down. We thought it was decided. We thought that because the Supreme Court said, no, we're going to uphold this law, it is legal. TikTok was fighting on the rights of First Amendment free speech. Supreme Court said, no, this law has, is very sound from a legal standpoint. So everyone was getting ready to say goodbye to TikTok. A lot of people were wondering, what is the last video to get uploaded to TikTok? They posted a message saying, hey, you can no longer access TikTok. Like TikTok literally was shut down in the US for about a day. Kind of crazy. No one could access it. They had a whole message on there. But just like that, TikTok is starting to restore services because Trump said this. He says, he posted this on Truth Social, ended up getting posted on X as well. He said, I'm asking companies not to let TikTok stay dark. I will issue an executive order on Monday, his first day as president, to extend the period of time before the law prohibitions take effect so that we can make a deal to protect our national security. The order will also confirm that there will be no liability for any company that helped keep TikTok from going dark before my order. Americans deserve to see our exciting inauguration on Monday, as well as other events and conversations. I would like the United States to have a 50% ownership position in a joint venture. By doing this, we save TikTok, keep it in good hands, and allow it to stay up. Without U.S. approval, there is no TikTok. With our approval, it is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions. Therefore, my initial thought is a joint venture between the current owners and or new owners, whereby the U.S. gets a 50% ownership in a joint venture set up between the U.S. and whichever purchase we so choose. Long story short, TikTok is back.
So,
and I do wonder, should we as a podcast start uploading our shorts to TikTok the same way that I upload them to YouTube every day?
I don't think so. Okay, well here's like I don't want to like really open up a can of worms here. So like I'm conflicted. I've never really used TikTok. The only reason I had it, the only reason I did is because Dana would send me videos. But if I ever did use it, it would be for more like a educational, informative. Like I'd look up certain genres of TikToks. And then maybe like gaming stuff and everything like that. Like very occasional. What just so that I'm straight up, what was the whole reason for the TikTok ban was because it was owned by a country that was not the US?
Yeah, basically, long story short, TikTok is a US based company, but it is owned by a parent company known as ByteDance. ByteDance is a Chinese company that basically has direct ties to the Chinese, the People's Republic of China, otherwise known as the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. Yeah. So kind of the whole joke was the US government wants to be able to go inside a social media company if they want to. If it's not owned by a US entity, they can't do that technically.
Okay. So, and that's kind of what that's pretty much what I thought as far as like the gist of it. Now here's the kicker for myself. I am a little okay, so here's the thing. TikTok was only down for 24 hours.
Something like that, yeah.
People were so upset that TikTok was getting taken down because they're like, oh, it's my free speech. And here's the thing. I am a huge advocate for, your constitutional rights, all of them. Like, I don't care which one it is. You can be yelling in my face saying the worst things ever. Guess what? That's your right to do. I don't care. I'm not going to hold anything against you. Same reason as is the right for me to carry a firearm. Every constitutional amendment carries its weight. So for me, it's like, okay, cool, TikTok got banned. Guess what? You still have YouTube. You still have Instagram. You still have Facebook. You still have all these other platforms and they even shifted to Red Note. Like, and it's like, okay, so it's like y'all didn't even care enough about TikTok. You just wanted to go to the next best thing so you could post whatever you wanted to post about. There was some arguments that people use TikTok to make money off of. Like, like they post, that's how they sell their products. Well, guess what? You could do the same thing with YouTube. You could do the same thing with Facebook. You could do the same thing with Instagram. To me, it wasn't a big deal, but it blew my mind how so many people just got so angry about this right off the bat. And I'm like, it's like someone just murdered your dog, like right in front of you. That's how mad some of these people got. And I'm like, where is everyone's priorities at? Where you cared more about your social presence on an app than you cared more about just living in the moment with people, like, and that was a huge thing for me. That's why I never really used it. It was funny because, like, I mean, I wouldn't mind, like, not fully utilizing it in a sense, but like, using it for, educational purposes, stuff like that. And I actually just looked it up on the App Store and it's not even available right now. So I guess that's not going to go into effect until tomorrow when he's actually going to sign the executive order or whatever it is that he's planning on signing. So, but I just thought that was interesting. Like, I had nothing honestly against TikTok as like a hard anything against it. It was kind of frustrating just to see people post ridiculous sayings and then they would make, essentially make a lot of money. I don't know how much money people actually made off of it because I never really kept up with those metrics, but I don't know. I feel like people took it a little too far and they were upset about this to an extent that they probably should not have gotten to. But I'm like, okay, so you're okay with a Chinese company that has access to all your data at the end of the day. So yeah, that's kind of that spiel.
Yeah, my quick take on this before we call it a night is China's going to have your data regardless.
Right.
If you interact on the internet, countries are going to have your data if they want to have your data.
Exactly.
I think what sets TikTok apart from all the other social media platforms, the algorithm. TikTok's algorithm is second to none. And it's a wide margin between TikTok and whoever's in second place. I don't even know who second place would be. It might be just google.com in terms of just like algorithm and what's going on there. So what's really interesting to keep in mind is whenever certain individuals or entities were looking to purchase TikTok before this ban went into place, and even today, ByteDance was willing to sell TikTok. They were not willing to sell the algorithm. The algorithm was off the table. There was no way that they were willing to sell the algorithm because it's that darn good. That's the thing to keep in mind is TikTok. It's not because the videos are better. It's not because the profile pages are better. It's that algorithm, dude. That algorithm will know your soul faster than you know it yourself because it's that good.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
Well, one quick thing, and you actually touched on this. I don't know if you heard about this, but apparently Google or like Gmail or something like that. Apparently, like they had like they were under attack by like a cyber attack or something like that.
Potentially, cyber attacks happen all the time, so maybe.
Yeah, my dad was showing me that, and I was like, at the end of the day, it's like I don't have anything on that Gmail. Like, and the thing is, I was like, I don't keep any passwords saved on Google Chrome. Like, I have them all on an exterior thing, so it's like I don't even have to worry about any of that. But I said the same thing you said. I was like, if a country wants to have my data, they're going to have it either way.
They already do. That's the thing. They already do. It's not so it's they do.
Yeah, and so it's like all like it's just a matter of like the passwords. And so that's why I always do different stuff. But be that as it may, it's like they can have like they're going to know me better than I know myself based on whatever it is that I deal with. But yeah, I just thought again, I don't have anything against TikTok. Apparently it's available to some people from what I'm reading here. It's not available to everyone yet.
Yeah, so like I can open it right now and watch it.
Oh, see, I deleted it, so like I can't even re-download it right now. So
it's like, do you remember when Flappy Bird went offline?
Right.
How it was like everyone was like selling these iPhones that had Flappy Bird already installed because Flappy Bird removed itself from the App Store.
Right.
It's like
and
that.
It just said like, and it has like all these other ones that people can't download, and so um, it's just a matter of just waiting for it to come back up, I guess. So
Yeah, that'll be tomorrow
yeah,
or today, whenever someone's watching this.
today, yeah,
Yeah,
it could be available at any time. So definitely an interesting episode.
definitely. So let me ask you, got any words of wisdom for the people listening to close us out?
Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. I don't know, man. For season 2, episode 51, um, what is your new year like? Do you have high hopes for this year ahead with the new administration taking over tomorrow? What do you think about some of these executive orders? Because we only touched on just a couple. Like, he's got over 200 executive orders that, like, that man's hand is going to be like, at this point,
Yeah,
they might as well just give him a stamp to like just stamp his signature onto the papers. That's how many times this man's going to be signing his name. Um, but I don't know. How do y'all feel about some of those? We definitely want to know y'all's thoughts. What's your take on the TikTok ordeal? Like, do you think it was beneficial for it to be gone for the 24 hours, or do you think our entire country literally almost went up in a fiery blaze of hell because it was gone for 24 hours and, won't be coming back up fully till tomorrow? So let us know in the comments. Like, I don't think it was a huge deal, but a lot of other people would beg to differ. Again, if you love TikTok, that's your thing. I just also too, another reason why I wasn't heavily into it is because I didn't want to get sucked into it, because it's easy to get sucked into doom scrolling for 2 hours, when you only meant to do it for like 15 minutes to kind of get like that, recharge back in. But I don't know. It's interesting to see. And also to end us off on the question that I started this episode with, do you think parachute companies ever worry about getting a bad review if their product fails? Let us know in the comments. We hope to hear your thoughts. We'll see you guys in the next one.